On May 19th, 2020, in a quiet corner of Iowa, thousands of pigs were loaded into a barn. 8 hours later, every one of them was dead. What happened in those hours was something you were never supposed to know.
If you were to imagine like a bomb going off in a city, that's what it pretty much sounded like. It was like screaming, but for hours on end. It's hard to just think of anything more horrific.
That's Matt Johnson, the only person who would be arrested in connection to this crime. But to understand how he got there, we need to go back to something that happened in his childhood. You see, Matt always felt like an outsider in his own town. In Iowa, hunting and animal farming have always been central to its cultural identity, but as just a 4-year-old boy, Matt rejected that culture.
Now this is Christmas time. This was, kind of a talk of the family to some extent. Okay, Matthew thinks he's a vegetarian now. And they said, hey, Matthew, called me down to this shed that they have on the property where they keep their equipment. So I go running out there where they called me to, and I walk in and they have a deer that they've killed strung up upside down, and they painted the deer's nose red. I just could not believe, just how callous and cruel, people can be. I think, that was a really formative moment for me going into the whatever it is that I've become today.
Matt would grow up to become an undercover investigator of factory farms, and he noticed that Iowa Senator Ken Rosenboom, who owned several farms himself, had pushed through what's known as an Ag-gag law.
Ag-gag laws prevent people from detailing the horrific conditions which these animals live in. If you film it, if you're a worker there and you're like, this is horrific, I'm going to film this and out this place, you'll go to jail.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
In April 2019, Matt Johnson released his investigation into one of Ken Rosenboom's pig farms. Ultimately deciding to rescue a sick piglet he would name Gilly.
This caused a big stir amongst the animal ag community of like, hey, we gotta crack down, we gotta watch out for this stuff. Like, this is really scary if people go in and document what's going on. I mean, they had to put flyers up in their facilities, flyers up with me in Spanish. It says, activist, if you see him near the farm, tell a boss. If he walks in, we're fucked.
One of the people who saw that flyer was a truck driver working for Iowa Select Farms. His name was Lucas Walker, and he decided to send Matt an email. If you think the senator's farm is bad, something way worse is happening here. You see, when COVID was spreading rapidly across the US in 2020, slaughterhouses became a hotspot for the virus. This was because of the close working conditions, the limited sick leave, the fact that many immigrant workers lived in shared accommodations, among other factors. But with workers becoming sick, slaughterhouses across the US needed to shut down, which led to a backlog of healthy pigs who had nowhere to go. So they had a problem. What were they to do with all these animals?
They decided we're going to have to kill off a lot of these pigs, and they're going to do it in the cheapest way that was available to them, and it's this process called ventilation shutdown.
Ventilation shutdown is a mass killing method in which airways to a building are sealed off and hot steam is pumped in. The animals will die by suffocation or heat stroke in a process that can take several hours.
They're just cooking these animals alive. It's just the most horrifying thing you can possibly think of. Oh my God, I'm dropping everything. All my other commitments are gone. We're going to find a way to document this.
And this is what led to Lucas Walker agreeing to meet Matt Johnson at a hotel room in Iowa to try and come up with a plan.
He had this whole basically, if you've seen the old school atlases, the Rand McNally road, but it was Iowa Select Farm, all of their facilities. Hey, this is where this is going on. And so we dragged ourselves to the nearest Walmart and we paid with cash and we purchased some gardening equipment. just cranked it, and we got set up with these home security type systems, kind of like a Ring camera type of thing. You can just view it and record, and everything is streamed. You got an app on your phone. Separately, we put a audio recorder, sitting there in my hotel room by myself as I check in on the app and see they're loading in the pigs, and this is the most disgusting, cruel, horrific thing that you would never even imagine would be possible.
What you're about to hear is a few seconds of the audio taken from Matt's recorder.
Southeast corner in the inlet, and it was pointed toward the steam hoses.
Could they see them?
Could they see
Could you see any hawks dying?
I don't know. From the cameras, where the cameras were setting, it would give a view. It would give a view of the pin across from one side of the building to the other. I would say yeah. I don't know, like what conversation do these folks have amongst themselves, where it's like, our place where we do what we do, we are apparently fucked if people even know what we're doing on a day-to-day basis in our job. That's like such a, God, that's just got to be so demoralizing to exist in that world. And I guess, nobody wants to work those jobs. It's people who are desperate, no other options, basically. I would like to file a complaint. I've documented a case of really, frankly, extremely troubling and horrific livestock neglect. Hundreds of pigs, and this just happened within the past few hours, were put inside of a barn and essentially roasted to death.
Okay, and you said you had video proof of it?
Yeah.
How'd you get that?
That night at 4 a.m, Matt would be woken up by some very loud banging on his door.
Bang, 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 bang. Housekeeping. What the fuck? Yeah, open the door and they grabbed me up and pushed me against the wall, the whole thing.
When Matt was released from jail, Lucas informed him that ventilation shutdown was happening again in the same location tonight. So Matt and a few other activists headed to the site.
We have three brave individuals here with us. You want to shine light on them? Three folks here who are putting themselves on the line, putting their freedom on the line.
This fencing system behind us is all new. It wasn't here just a couple weeks ago. They've provided us something to chain ourselves to.
Put an end to this process. Put an end to ventilation shutdown. That's an ask of Governor Kim Reynolds and of Iowa Select Farms. But we won, where we succeeded in that night. They did not end up doing it at all. ISF never did VSD ever again after that time when we captured it. Yeah, we had a real world impact, So, hey, we all have more power than we think.
Animals are some of the most vulnerable beings among us. They can't tell us when someone hurts them. And our legal system isn't protecting them enough from companies who prioritize profit above everything else. And what's most disturbing about ventilation shutdown is that once you look into the standard legal practice in the meat industry, this story isn't surprising. The life of a typical pig can be found here. I won't tell you this rabbit hole is pleasant, but it is important. This video is dedicated to the millions of animals who died by ventilation shutdown during COVID-19. It's dedicated to the billions of animals suffering in factory farms and slaughterhouses today. And it's dedicated to the criminals who might one day be seen for what they really are.